Good afternoon, calling to order the Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024 Committee of the Whole. Will all rise and salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Mr. Mayor, Member Rizzo has joined through Zoom.
Oh, wonderful. Welcome. So, in attendance this afternoon, we have School Committeeman John Kingston.
Oh, you going in order?
I'm just going by what I see.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh. Mr. Fred Sinella,
Yes.
John Kingston,
Yes.
Aisha Milbury Ellis,
Present.
Anthony Caggiano,
Present.
Jacqueline Monteroso,
Present.
and Committeewoman Stacy Rizzo.
Present.
Present. Thank you. We have a forum. If we go down the agenda. Approval of the minutes.
Any questions on those?
No.
No questions? Because there's a Zoom attendance, we have to do roll call, or is it just?
That's when we vote in the
Oh, that's
next
right.
one.
Okay. Approval of minutes, great.
Still need a roll call.
Gotcha.
For,
Even for committee of the whole?
For the
we just asked if there was questions. We're not voting on anything.
vote's not until the next meeting, Stacy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were looking for a vote now.
No,
I was unsure too, so. Okay, so no questions on that. Any attached warrants?
I just had a question, Matt.
Yeah.
Line item 280 and 281, reference safety barricade gates, and I was just wondering what those were needed for.
All right, let's see. So those are purchased directly from the instructional account at the Rumney Marsh. I'll have to pull the purchase orders on those. Typically, those would go through the plant maintenance director, but it may something that they were dealing with right on site just at that school.
So is that like for construction or like, was there like a student safety concern issue and there was barricades?
I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, to see this coming directly from the Rumney Marsh account means it would have been something directly triggered by the principal there, as opposed to something district-wide that involved us with the plant maintenance. And it looks like there was 2 purchase orders used. So I can pull the POs and the detail and then forward those to the committee and you can see.
great, thank you. That was all for me.
Great, thank you. Any other questions on warrants?
No, sir.
Okay.
So just to note, there's no other financials because it's the July meeting.
Right.
We're still working on closing out the fiscal year from the 30th. In August, we'll have a number of financial reports for you to see, and we'll get them out to you as soon as we can before that meeting, so you're available. That will include the final financial report for the fiscal year, and then any other updates that we can give. Also, I think everyone would have seen, but the conference committee did their work, signed off on their budget. So we've seen the statewide numbers. The numbers for Revere haven't trickled down yet. As soon as they do, you'll get a communication from myself and Superintendent Kelly that shows if there were any changes that affected us in what we're being awarded, or what our net school spending is going to be. So I was hoping they would have posted that before tonight. They haven't got to it. So we'll do that as soon as we're able.
Okay,
it should be within the next day or two.
Oh,
that we get
okay.
it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions on warrants? Nope. Okay, financials,
None.
financial reports. Thank you, Matt.
Okay.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
your summer.
Thank you, man.
Food service financials, there are none. Great. Communications, none. No enrollment update, and next we have personnel. New hires, retirements, resignations, terminations.
And you have those lists in your packets.
Any
Any
questions?
any questions?
Yeah, how you doing on hiring?
We're doing well. We still have some positions open, in particular, special education positions. If anybody knows anybody who's interested in a special ed job, please send them our way. But other than that, we're doing pretty well. Principals are plugging along, and at the August meeting, we'll have an exact list of what's still open and unfilled.
Thank you.
Great. And I saw we had a few promotions internally for some assistant principals and
Yeah, in
And the like?
particular, Alex Sorboni has been promoted to assistant principal at the Garfield Middle. Alex is a lifelong Revere resident, went to Revere schools, has been a teacher in the district for a couple of decades, and I think she'll do a great job over there.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
congratulations.
Yes. Yep.
And, okay, great. Any other questions?
No, sir.
Fantastic, moving on. Donations and gifts.
So one new piece here that Dr. Costa had applied for and was awarded this grant from the Massachusetts Life Sciences Center. It's the second time he's been awarded this grant. This one is a total of $79,831. The majority of that money is going toward the purchase of science equipment for classrooms and labs. And there is about $15,000 that's set aside for training teachers on how to use the new equipment and the new programs in the lab. So it's pretty exciting and expanding our STEM focus, as we always like to do. It'll be great. The equipment is going to be specifically at Revere High School. And it will help, let's see what he wrote here, replenish our Vernier sensors and probeware, which provides students with different ways to design an investigation and then collect and analyze data. So, good stuff.
When you get a chance, could I have a copy? It was missing from my packet.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I just want to read it. Thank you. Good stuff. though.
I'll get a copy of the full grant. What I have is just the email.
Just the email. Oh, that's all. Oh, okay. It
Yeah.
says attached, so I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
What was gonna be.
I don't know why
attached.
that says
I
that.
think that's
Probably a
it's
copy and paste.
Okay, no worries.
And then while we're on the topic of donations, I will forward this to Dr. Kelly, just letting you all know. Rep Janino connected me with someone from JetBlue Corporate who's interested in donating to our Beachmont Library, and then also bringing any students who identify as female into a STEM conference free of charge. So I will send that connection to you and letting you all know. It'll be great to get that partnership.
That's right. Free is always the right price.
Mhm.
This is true.
Yeah.
Great.
And then did you want to mention the Amazon that your office is working on?
Sure, a little, still in the working stage, but, Amazon, which as everyone knows, has a good relationship with the city of Revere, having two, fulfillment centers and, are pretty much thriving in the city of Revere, very much want to give back. Myself and my team at the mayor's office have had a formal working relationship with people at Amazon, so they have really enjoyed the relationship. So they, much like the backpack drive that we did last year, we serviced over 600 students with backpacks filled with goodies for kids to get back to school. They wanted to do that, plus they wanted to take it to another step. And my idea, and because I noticed some teachers were asking for school supplies to start up the year. And I said, can we get with the district to find out what the teacher needs are? And maybe work on the wish list through Amazon, and they can supplement that with funding and whatnot. So
No, that's
nothing
great.
finalized yet, but more than likely Amazon will be sponsoring wish lists for each school along with the backpack drive. But we'll roll.
Great. I think Claudia scheduled a meeting for tomorrow on
Yeah,
that.
there was
So,
one earlier today too,
Yeah.
so we'll
Exciting.
find out. I mean, it might be announced at the next school committee meeting, but more than likely it'll probably be rolled out before then, so I don't think anyone's gonna have a problem with Amazon.
No,
giving
sir.
us something.
Thank you for your work.
Is that gonna be something annually or just?
As often as we can. This is
Right.
the second year and
Yeah.
they made it
Good.
bigger, and if it happens again next year, we'll keep doing
That's
it.
great.
I think it's all about, relationships, and their
Absolutely.
success is our success, vice versa, so,
Oh, thank you.
And then I know teachers will speak more to what they need, but I have a few teachers who lead their small learning groups have reached out to me because sometimes they can't get the school budget to buy little items that certain students with behavioral and emotional needs need. Like if I have a red toy car, that helps me concentrate, but a lot of things are in bulk. So maybe it'll be, there's an opportunity to also loop that into the conversation.
So the collaboration, once we find out, kind of the budget parameters tomorrow, we'll be reaching out to the schools and the leaders of the schools to say, all right, what do you need? Because I don't know what I don't know if they need pencils or if they need red toy cars, so. I think that the schools will be able to help lead, whether it's the principals, the administrators, and then probably their relationships with the teachers on what do we need. Let's look at those big ticket items or small ticket items and then kind of create those, and, we want to have 7 wish lists for each school. And that's the goal, right? Each 7 schools, 7 wish lists.
11?
11.
I apologize. I don't always count the middle schools as I more like buildings,
Yeah,
7
Eight.
buildings.
8, but that's okay.
So you call shit about a building?
You're
It's in
trying.
Each one.
Yeah, it's 1 building,
Yeah, right.
8 buildings.
Anyway,
Gotcha,
Great news.
gotcha. Well, anyway,
Yeah,
Thank you.
make it 11.
wonderful.
You could say we're sorry, sir.
Round up.
12. So,
Great.
that's that.
The
no
next,
field trips.
No field trips, yeah. Go to the
And the
beach.
VOTEC.
So I had asked Robin to put this on the agenda because I wanted to talk to you all about it. I think you're all probably aware that in the last several years, there's been a lot of communication and discussion at the state level about how students are admitted to the VOTEC schools across the Commonwealth. And what a lot of the data shows is that there may be some bias in how kids are admitted when they look at the percentage of white students versus non-white students, when they look at students who are economically disadvantaged versus kids who are not. There is discrepancy in the percentages of kids who actually get accepted after they apply to the VOTECs. And so there is a group who has reached out to me called the Vocational Educational Coalition, which is working at a state level on trying to find ways to maybe level the playing field so that more kids can get into vocational technical schools when they apply. And one of the things they've asked us to do that I wanted to run by all of you is to reach out to the families of kids who applied to the vote but didn't get accepted. And then give them the opportunity, it's up to the family if they want to do this or not, to talk to them about what reasons they were given for why they weren't accepted or why they think they didn't get in. They're just doing research along those lines. And there's a number of communities, especially the urban communities, that don't have their own vocational technical programs like us, who are engaging in this process to try to help increase accessibility for families. And so I would like for us to participate in that, but I wanted to hear if the committee had different thoughts on that or.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
When a student is told that they don't qualify or that they're not accepted, are they provided with a reason?
I'm not aware of that, to be sure.
No,
No,
it's an email just saying you're on the waiting list.
okay,
At the end of the day, I was gonna talk about this later today, but when kids don't get accepted, I get all the phone calls.
Yeah.
And this year was particularly the worst.
mm-hmm,
And it comes down to more so at the end of the day, it's about academics,
mm,
okay? The state kind of limited what you can say for discipline,
Yeah.
absenteeism and so on. So at the end of the day, it comes down to academics. And what's happening in a lot of the trade schools, the vote doesn't have the problem because we go from Winchester to Chelsea. So around 55% of our kids are non-white.
mhm,
We exceed all the state, as far as special needs, we exceed all their guidelines. The issues is the other communities like
mm,
the Essex, the
mhm,
Gloucesters and everything. As far as our vocational schools, we don't. The
yeah,
problem is there's a variety of reasons, and I was gonna talk about it later on today if I have the opportunity. But it's, more so that more kids want to get in, and it's not just for vocational reasons, there's a lot of other reasons.
yeah, definitely,
But I probably got at least 50 to 100 calls.
yeah,
So, and I talk to everybody and I call everybody back, sometimes 2, 3 times. They don't always like the answers,
mhm,
but it's academics, and 10% of the full enrollment is on a lottery at the vocational schools. So 10% of the Revere's allotment is done by a lottery. And that's something done by the committee. None of us are involved or anything.
mhm,
And that's basically it. But at the end of the day, it's I hate to say, you gotta be pretty much on an A student to get into the voc right now.
Mm.
So the findings that you're talking about, do those pertain to us in our vocational school that our students are going to?
They are, but like Anthony said, we have less of an issue than some of the other VOTECs where there are wider discrepancies
Right.
than at Northeast. I feel like we have such a good relationship with Northeast and we work so collaboratively with them. And they're so collaborative with all of the sending districts, you know? I feel like it's less of a problem here. But I think that if we want to make some change at the state level and find more funding for VOTECs and create more seats for kids and move in that direction, or, you know, this is just me talking, I have no sense that this is gonna happen, but maybe it becomes that, with all of this demand, that they allow districts to have some more VOTEC programs, even if they're part of a regional. Like maybe there's things like that that could change at the state level. I don't know. But that's what this organization is trying to work toward is let's at least explore this problem, find other ways to create access and opportunity. They tried like the After Dark program and
That's probably the only thing that's gonna work, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, in this area. And I think me and you touched upon it a little. We could get work grant capital program, like you know, the work grant capital.
Mhm.
The voc will even do the work, but we need a location.
Yeah.
And if we can work with Revere and create an after dark program, so in all those kids on the waiting list for Revere, and Revere
Mhm.
only, can go to that.
Yeah,
And we could do up to 4, and we don't need exploratory
So we would just need a location.
location, right? And we need a location, and like I said, between work grant capitals, we could get the material. But like I said, at the end of the day, we need a facility.
yeah.
I don't think it hurts to talk to families,
Mm.
but I also am weary at times when there's an agenda
Mhm.
of extracting information that maybe isn't accurate for the sake of supporting the agenda.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know whether, you know, if the risk outweighs the harm in that.
Yeah.
So to provide more context as well, this comes through a bill that Rep. Kushmerek filed for Voc Tech lottery admission and exploration. So there's different coalitions that are already reaching out to parents directly as well to just gather intake on the differences. Like Dr. Kelly said, Revere doesn't have a problem because the Voc Tech that we feed into does have a proportion of students of color, but it's more like Western Mass, where there's some schools where the application require even like a video interview, top scores, attendance, and so.
Right, I get all that, but if we don't have a problem, I guess, why are we subjecting our families to
So it's
something that?
optional, and it's just passing on the message, and it's also part of that collective effort to gather research and be part of a Commonwealth approach.
Yeah,
Ensure
family
that
can
there's-
say, no, I want
Yeah,
nothing to do
she's
with
just
this.
passing on the email.
Cool.
I want to acknowledge that
I'm
Mrs.
asking
Rizzo has her
questions.
hand up since I'm the only one who can see this.
Okay.
Ms. Rizzo?
So I just wanted to say MASC last year, and we had brought it up at the school committee last year, also a resolution on the admission process for a vocational tech. We also work with MAVA on it. We also spoke about After Dark. And many of the urban areas said it more than likely wouldn't happen and wouldn't be able to be done with our students because most of them work. And they're taking care of their families, and those are the ones that would really like to go there. But unfortunately, after the school day, they go to work. But it was an agreement that we should be making this locally. Because what might be working well here might not be working well somewhere else. I know Blackstone has been working really hard with the person who put this bill forward. So there's many of the vocationals have been reaching out to see what they can do locally. And if it means just getting in contact with families, I've had 10 families this year contact me because their kids didn't get in and wanted to know what their chances were for next year, or even if they could join City Lab. So there is a need in our city. I mean, we might have a good relationship, but there is still not enough seats for our students especially for the students that, you know, whether they have an absentee problem, a behavioral problem, maybe that behavioral problem might turn around when they're doing something that interests them in the classroom. So seeing that, the mayor's yawning when I speak, I
Sorry,
won't bore anyone
you.
anymore.
No, I apologize. That wasn't you. I was actually
You
gonna
didn't know
say
you could
something
see
too. That was an hour ago, by the way. Thank you, Ms. Rizzo. If I could also mention, I wanted to ask, like, what are we agreeing to? Are we agreeing to partner with them? Are we agreeing to divulge information?
No, we're
Yeah.
agreeing to send a communication from them to the families of students who applied to the VOC. And that communication would say, if you're interested in working with us, click here or call this number or send an email, something of that
Yeah.
nature.
And I would just say I don't think that, it's kind of like double-edged sword to me. It could be provoking something that's not there, because we get the calls already, and
Yeah.
I would just say that, like Anthony mentioned, a couple of years back, and I'm sure the policies have changed, it tended to be attendance related. Kids were calling me, parents were calling me, and then come to find out their kids were missing 30 or 40 days of school, and the vote was basically, and again, this is well before your time.
Right, but we can't use that anymore.
Right, so that's changed, but before, like I said, before your time, they would say, why are we gonna give a seat up, a coveted seat to someone that doesn't, clearly shows that they don't wanna be in school? And that was like a turnoff for the vocational school, and I'm just gonna say that that's the truth 6, 8 years ago. I'm not saying that is today.
Right.
Now, clearly, we've been reading about this for the last couple of years, vocational schools, and you mentioned it in other parts of the state, it's probably a majority of white students. Maybe it's because of its unintended bias, because their grades become better because of something that's happening in their life they're less impacted. But for us, it could just flare up, I'm not necessarily concerned about it flaring up, someone suggesting there's something happening here. I think it's just gonna flare up same as like the school lottery that we have in the city of Revere. Like, the more you bring it up, the more problems it just drives out there.
I know
That we
he sent me
can't
some
really do
data. I'm
anything.
trying to pull it up.
I think if I could see the correspondence that's gonna go to the families, and if it comes with like this caveat that while we're not experiencing necessarily these issues, if that's true, there are other communities in the Commonwealth that are, and this is a statewide initiative. As long as that's clear and doesn't suggest in any way that somebody was rejected from the voc school because of a bias, then I would be fine with that. I just want to make sure it doesn't.
And one thing about
Kingston.
The Boston Globe, I believe it was on Sunday, did a huge article on the folk schools, if somebody wants to look at it. I did read it. They did point, I don't remember the name of the school, and I won't mention it here. One of the vocational schools was really taking a task for it. They were I'll say chief offender. I don't know what word to use, but they were the top of the list as far as having a problem. I think just from talking to Mr. Caggiano in the past, I think the admissions policy for the Vocs really been updated, and I think they do a good job at it. I think in years past, it was a little different, and it was more kind of who you know, and I think that's been eliminated, which I think is good. I agree with Ms. Novarellis. I think if us looking at the form before we say okay, because I don't want to say that I'm agreeing with something if I really don't. And I don't want to pass any, excuse me, and I don't want to pass on any problem with the vote. Unfortunately, they just don't have enough seats, and I think that's the biggest problem. I think if the state really wants to address the problem, build some more vocational schools.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. And I will say that their new building, we are gonna have more seats because they are increasing enrollment.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
that will help us.
Yes.
Mr. Snow.
Well, I kind of, a piece here, a piece there, a piece there. If we enter into any kind of an understanding, the average citizen's gonna come looking to us.
Mhm,
It's gonna give them false hope.
mhm.
It looks like you're throwing a life preserver. If we're hearing what we're hearing, we've got our allotment, we're within reasonable districts lines.
Mhm.
I wouldn't poke it with a sticker.
one thing I also want to say, as far as the lottery goes, Revere would get hurt if we went to 100% lottery. And why is that? Is everybody has certain allotments.
Mhm.
And when they don't fill their allotments, we get the first shot. We get 20% of those empty seats.
Mhm.
Why is
Uh,
that? Is that contractual?
No, what happens is we have 20% of the kids. So if there's any openings, we get 20% of the openings.
Okay,
But what we're scared about, if we go to 100% lottery, a lot of those other schools, if they have problem kids, they're gonna fill their allotment and get rid of their problem kids. And those openings that
for the
we
sake of
had,
just filling the.
right,
filling
and
the-
those openings, maybe I get 2 or 3, I'm gonna lose 2 or 3. So I'm kind of concerned with the lottery that way, because I'm trying to get, right now, when I started, Chelsea had the most kids. Now, by far, we have the most kids.
Mm.
And I think the 10% lottery is great. I have no problem with that, but I'm just concerned if we go to 100%,
We'll lose some.
I'm gonna lose seats, and it's only gonna be worse.
Jimmy,
Yes.
through you, Mr. Giano, when the Voc School first opened, going back, Charlie Michelle and the whole schmear, Winchester never sent anybody. Revere used to get their allotment.
Right,
We paid whatever the
Right.
per head was.
right.
Is that still in existence?
Yes, but we're scared if we go to 100%
No,
lottery.
no, I heard that
You know,
part, but
which-
there is,
yes,
we do get extra because.
right, and whatever is extra that's open, we have
20% of it.
25% of the kids, we get 20% of the openings.
Thank you.
I said one more, I'm sorry. But you did tell me at some point that some of the districts that used to not send all their kids, they're full too.
They're
Because I
slowly,
asked you about Reading.
right,
I asked you, someone asked
For
me
example, right,
Reading, and Reading
those
said that the
more
wait list
wealthy
now.
communities who didn't fill in the past are slowly starting to fill. For the first time, North Reading filled their allotment, but Reading, Winchester still hasn't done their 100%, but we're scared if it goes to 100%, we're gonna lose
Thank you.
seats.
So you could just send it to us. Some
To review.
folks
Okay,
would like
I'll
to
get,
see
I'll
it.
get I'll get that document and send it to everybody.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, I want to do our part and support the
Yeah.
Commonwealth's mission, but I just want to be responsible about it.
Yeah.
If you want, I
The
can-
other thing that I struggle with is, when we talk about troubled kids, often they're troubled because school, our regular traditional school isn't the right fit for them.
we
and
don't
they
call
might
them
be-
problem kids.
Hmm?
We don't call them problem.
Yeah, it might be that kind of environment is exactly what they need to thrive.
Mhm.
And whether they're from Revere or Winchester or Chelsea or wherever, the kids, all kids should have what they need, and that includes having more seats for kids from Revere.
Might
I
have
don't
to,
think you'll
And
find
all that,
disagreement.
yeah.
in
That hasn't
not
changed,
saying that.
that's been the same since I was in high school, and it's, you're
Yeah.
100% right. But the stigma that's around it now, it's much different. We've actually shown kids that vocational schools are not like where you send
they're
the
a
bad
pathway to
kids.
success.
But when I was in high school, you know, it was like, hey, if you're not doing good, you're gonna go to the Voc. And it was the
Right.
basement
Well,
of my
now
high
you
school.
can't even get into the vote
Right.
because
Well, and that's the
it's
conundrum, right?
academically driven as far as their acceptance.
Yeah, and so the kids who do get accepted to the Vogue are typically, or often, not all of them, but a lot of them are college intending. And they go on to college, they don't join the
Shouldn't
trade.
necessarily join a trade, right?
Agreed.
So, and then there's all these kids that are just lost in the ether because they didn't have that opportunity. They're not intending to go to college. And they're trying to figure out, how do I get into the electricians
Yeah,
without any
Well,
of this
that tells-
background?
that
You
tells
know?
me we need to strengthen our high school,
Mhm.
so they're not looking to
100%.
the vote for their academics.
That was
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Location of school committee meetings.
I asked to put this on the agenda. I know space is tight up here. I know we've talked about the portables. We're trying to schedule a meeting, I think, for next week.
Mhm.
And, the plant and maintenance, our new plant and maintenance, committee person was gonna schedule a meeting next week. I just think if we, I know the school committee room is sometimes used for meetings, but even if we got 1 or 2 classroom periods a day in there, that there could be a class in there, I think it would help. I think we have to look at every avenue and every space in the building. I think it could, I think potentially it could be used at least for 1 classroom a day, I would hope, maybe more. And also, I think it shows people that we're, you know, that we're putting the kids first and that we, you know, we're trying to give them as much space as we can by, you know, vacating the room. So it's something I really like to look at. And with the new setup coming in a year and a half, with the new election and 2 more members, gets a little tight in there to add 2 more to the roster. So I think it's something we should seriously consider.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I've mentioned several times. If that space is gonna help you with the spacing issue that we have, then I mean, I think the committee is all in agreement that we would freely give it up. and use the city hall space.
Yeah, I asked Caitlin, for an update today or yesterday, I forget which. And she said where they are right now is, and this is without using the school committee room. That first period, there are only 4 rooms that are unoccupied. Second period, every room is occupied. Third period, there's 1 room that's unoccupied. And fourth period, there are 3 rooms that are unoccupied. That is super tight, especially like when you just think of an impromptu meeting or when we have service providers that come in from North Suffolk or some other organization that we partner with, we need a space for them to go into.
And then you use the school committee room now?
Well, what this is saying is there's virtually no place to put them. If we have the school committee room, that at least could be a little bit of flex space. To John's point, it might not be used every period, every day, but at least they know that they have that
Space.
resource. And what they said is, we don't feel like we need to tear the whole thing apart. So if the committee wanted to work on a transition plan with the city council to ultimately go up there, it doesn't mean we have to start that in August. What they would want to do is install some whiteboards on the back wall. So that if somebody was in there teaching or doing a seminar
Have
or
it set
whatever,
up so it's ready to go.
it can be a classroom, or it can also just be used for a meeting space or used for your meetings. Until we get a full transition plan in place.
Yeah.
So it's workable. Without making a major change to the room, but we are again bursting at the seams.
Mhm.
And so I would say by second semester, when we're doing that schedule, we won't have the 4 rooms open first period. There'll be more kids and more classes and.
Yeah, I think what I'd also like to know is I know we'd have to work with our city clerk on what that scheduling looks like. I know there's a meeting, is that at 4 or 5 every Tuesday? I think there's a meeting in the chambers every Tuesday.
So they do have a schedule of different events, and I know that they have the site plan, which is a little bit earlier in the day, and I gotta double check on what the meeting agendas are. So Clerk Melnick pretty much handles the council chambers. I'm sure that they would be accommodating. The only thing I would just say, just to kind of think ahead, is the technology piece is different. So Revere TV pretty much hosts the technology side of the meeting, along with the clerk who sits there and helps kind of coordinate a little bit. And there's their microphone set up, there's no screens. So
They
there's,
could-
yeah,
They're working on installing them.
yeah, so they are installing a new, with the ETV funds.
Yeah.
That's what I want to say is
Oh, sorry.
try to get in coordination with,
Is there a timeline for that?
we just approved the ETP fund request, which is about $100,000 or so. So there's gonna be some new technology. I would just say, try to coordinate if there's gonna be a use, so that it's similar. Like, I know Paul does it here and he's very good and proficient.
And he works with Revere TV all the
Right.
time, like we could. Cause I'm sure Revere TV doesn't wanna do a whole nother set of meetings, but
Paul could
I'm
maybe.
sure-
yeah, right.
I
I'm
don't know
sure
if
they
he can.
could
I don't wanna say
collaborate.
that, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying
Right.
perhaps he could.
So it's something just to, I think the coordination piece would be good. I mean, listen, I'll be honest, yeah, I have no problem doing this. It's easier for me.
I don't love the idea, but.
I know,
I'm kidding, but
it's a little bit of a, the change and also the
Yeah.
location, but if
It's
that's
gonna-
a 3-year, like, temporary move, especially with the addition of school committee people in
Yeah.
a year, certainly it makes sense.
Yeah, I think when there
We can
are
schedule.
more members on the committee, we're gonna have to. This room just won't accommodate
Yeah.
that
That was
many
my thought,
members.
and I
Like,
thought
it-
with a
we wouldn't
shortage at
fit.
the high school.
So,
department,
and while you're considering space,
Yeah, right.
that's why I'm.
Exactly,
it's a good
yeah.
time to
It
consider.
would just be scheduling, but ultimately, I don't know if there's a standard Tuesday meeting right now at 6 o'clock. Worst case, you have committee of the holes in a forum like this. It could be in a conference room or it could be in a different side room, which isn't the end of the world. It could incentivize me to, I'm trying to build up that back area
back
as a
room.
conference room. Just trying to find the money. Maybe the school committee wants to throw a few
No,
bucks.
they
tomorrow.
don't.
No?
No.
No, you guys have tons of money.
The city
Yeah.
can take the charge.
What about the Rummy Marsh Academy amphitheater and the Wayland School auditorium for meetings?
I think it would be good to not take more space if we're trying to move on.
Space is not used. It's not used.
It would require more restructuring so that we can all sit and meet, because meeting in an auditorium, sitting on top of stage, I think it's a little different. So I think it'd be good for us to explore all the options. I don't know, maybe if this goes to plant and maintenance, or if you guys want the chair and vice chair to kind of come up with a transition plan, or? So I think it'd be good to figure it out with the clerk to see what that
Yeah.
would look like and then figure out the
Yeah,
transition.
I will check on.
My only thing is sooner rather than later. I just think, you know, I don't want this to take a year. I don't think it should. And, you know, it'd be, you know, I don't think it's that, we're not moving mountains here, so hopefully it doesn't take.
Yeah, if you wanna inquire as to the.
I mean, if I didn't have a
scheduling,
screen for a couple of months at my desk, I think I'd be okay.
Then we could,
Sorry, what
if
did you
you,
say?
if you would wanna inquire with the scheduling, work with the chair
Yeah,
to,
so,
you know.
Yeah,
find
no,
out what the scheduling
I'll
looks
find out
like.
first thing tomorrow.
Then we can, and obviously the three of you
transition
can,
Yeah, and I would just add, if we do go to City Hall, there's no point in us going up there and learning this audio visual system that they're about to take out. If we can go there in October and there's
Exactly.
already gonna be a
Well,
new one
that's why
in,
we
then
should know
maybe
the
we look at
schedule.
that, you know what I mean?
absolutely.
Maybe we could donate our screens to them. We're
Okay,
not gonna
great.
need them here.
So, the mayor and
that's
I
true,
will
too.
work on figuring out that transition plan for us, and then we'll share updates
You
as we
already
go.
did?
They're getting like the latest tech too, so
Oh, okay.
think about
Because
that.
those aren't that old, the ones we have.
Uh,
Well, we can always
We just got
repurpose, I
them.
guess,
Yeah,
whatever. But, I mean, if you said to me, John, you're not gonna have a screen
We
for,
just got those
for a
screens
couple of
today.
months.
Can I just ask why this isn't going to plant and maintenance to work with Kyle and the Revere High team?
What?
We can, I guess.
Why would it, I'm not sure why it would. Could you just tell us why you think it would go to that subcommittee?
Well, because first of all, we were talking about portables to loosen up space. So we're still waiting for track 2 to come back for that information. So even though we want to get on board ASAP, we're just waiting for some more information before we can make our final recommendations.
I think that's a separate conversation from us in general, wanting to just move to city council chambers to conduct our official meetings there.
Okay, whatever you want.
well, we won't make any decisions today, so.
No, I just want to
Yeah,
have a
so-
discussion. That was the purpose, just to get a talk, because, you know, maybe it won't work, maybe City Hall's tied up that night, who knows? But I just,
I
you
actually
know,
think it might be free on Tuesdays at 6.
yeah.
We
Just-
can always inquire, and then once it sounds good, if the subcommittee then wants to take it over to draw a full plan to start to move us over, what that comms looks like, we can always take that next step once we at least know what collaboration looks like with the city side.
And to the mayor and superintendent, I also put in the chat, the planning board meetings are 5:30 at City Hall. In fact, there's one this evening. Also, we keep talking about the school committee room, and I don't care where we have a meeting, as long as there's classrooms for students. But it's not just school committee meetings that are held in that room, and the rest of the day it's empty. They're used for our health and wellness meetings, they're used for admin meetings. There's many meetings that go on in that room. So that's another thing we would have to look at, where all these take place. So it's not just as,
Yeah, and I agree, Stacy, like that was one of the things that we talked about today, because we had a meeting for I'm gonna forget the right name of it, but the group that's looking at what the interior and exterior finishes are gonna look like on the new building, and we met in that room.
Mm,
And we were planning on having a monthly meeting recurring after that, and that became a question.
Right.
About if that room's gonna become a classroom, where would those meetings happen? And the RHS staff was present for that meeting, and they were like, well, we don't need it every period. We could look at, you know, if we don't need it first period, then those meetings can happen first period or second period, whichever it may be, whatever the case may be.
just.
So we can look at that. We can also look at the East Wing. Conference room is available. It's a horrible space. I hate it down there, but,
What about in
it's
here?
still a space.
Are these used, at the time when you would have those meetings?
This room is used a
That you
lot during the
described?
day. Teachers bring classes down, and the writing center and the math and the STEM center. Kids do tutoring, but we can reserve space in here. We can. There are options to do that.
And again, you can keep using that room if you want to, like
Right.
your meetings are separate from the committee
Right.
choosing to move.
Right,
Mm,
So it's yours.
your space to do
Yeah.
as you please.
So we'll get information to you all about what that could look like, and we'll keep exploring.
Thank you.
And then for the last one, regular meeting agenda items, before we all vote to approve the consent calendar with the agenda, there's a few items I wanted to add, if everyone's okay. Under recognition, I just wanted to make a few comments, to acknowledge Mr. McTerra, Mr. Sinella, and then recognition of Dr. Kelly's award so the community knows. And then under report of subcommittees, we wanted to add the policies and procedures subcommittee update that we didn't get to add. So is everyone okay with those additions?
Yes.
I also, I know that Madam Rizzo wishes to as well, acknowledge these,
Okay, great.
as well as Mr. Kingston.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the opposition? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.